The Elden Ring DLC has added a whole host of new NPC summons along with their own wacky quest lines.
I'm as weak as a kitten and thick as 2 planks. Sorry.
As well as over a dozen new Spirit Ashes. Now, I've got quite a few hours sunk into this Spirit Ash business at this point, so it felt only natural to try to beat the DLC using just summons. But of course, to even enter the Land of Shadow, we need to first beat Mogh. I found the most consistent success with Black Flame Monk Amon and his max HP damage, and the true Elden Lords, the Mausoleum Soldiers. This Spirit Ash rips. The wiki putting these guys at A- is foul, okay? Straight to jail. Anyways, once Mogh is defeated, I can speak to Leda and enter the Shadowlands. I'll be using the same character I beat the base game with, so I'm walking in around level 105. I've got 3 rules in place for this run. The first is that I can only use summons to deal damage, and occasionally gravity. Second, I'm only allowed to use ashes and summons from the DLC, no base game stuff. And third, just to spice things up, if I want to increase either my Shadow Tree level or my Revered Spirit Ash blessing, I must first beat a boss. I should also mention that some Spirit Ashes and NPC questlines are not available without increasing the summoning pool area. I chose to use this mod just so I could experience everything the DLC has to offer, but just FYI, you certainly don't need NPC summons for runs like this, and it's actually a bit easier if you don't use them. So the first thing we need to do is find a summon. The easiest one to obtain is over by the Fort of Reprimand. On your way there, you can grab a Revered Spirit Ash next to the Scorched Ruins, and a second one east of Prospect Town. It's also a good idea just to be speaking with everybody that you see. Back at the fort, if you jump into this pit, there are some useful items, and around the corner are the Messmer Soldier Ashes. Super gamers can skip the fort entirely by using the Spirit Spring to jump right onto the ledge. After upgrading them to +9 at the round table, I needed a boss to test them on. I figured the Ancient Dragon Man was probably the weakest boss in the DLC, so I headed in that direction. And I don't know if it's him or somebody cosplaying as him, but you will be invaded by an Ancient Dragon Man before being able to enter the Dragon Pit. Now, as with most FromSoft NPC invaders, if you run along a plateau for long enough, they will launch themselves from a cliff face eventually. This grants us access to the Dragon Pit and lets us challenge our first boss. I'm walking in at Revered Spirit Blessing 0 with these soldiers at +9. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the Ancient Dragon Man is no match for the modern Messmer Militant, and good god, these men are tall. They're ostensibly normal humans, but they tower over myself and the Dragon Man. They must be Norwegian or something. As with most Spirit Ashes, they are highly effective against human-sized enemies because they just perma-stun them. This is especially true for multiple unit summons. Minor spoiler, the Messmer soldiers are one of the best in the game. They're A tier at least, so even at +0 blessing level, this fight was a breeze. With our first boss defeated, we can use one of the Revered Ash we grabbed earlier to get us to blessing level 1. Right now, we're still way too weak to tackle any of the major bosses, so I grabbed another Ash Blessing near Abandoned Ailing Village and made my way into the Ballarat jail. I do like the direction the jails went in this DLC, but some of them can be an absolute brumpus to navigate. Thankfully, Ballarat is one of the more navigable ones. At the end of this jail is Swordmaster Once. I think it's a French word. A lot of people have likened him to Yoda from the prequels, and I'll admit, he's pretty cool.
What was that?
The fight, though, is reminiscent of the Dragon Man fight, and here you can see the Messmer soldiers rack up a string of 6,000 damage at only level 1 Ash Blessing. It's a small glimpse into the power of the lowest rank and file of Messmer's legions.
But Messmer soldiers, man.
The fight rewards us with Swordmaster Yosh and a chance to upgrade our blessing level to 2. If you've spoken to Tierlists, you can get more to give you the syrup before heading into Ballarat proper. Once inside, you can grab 2 Revered Spirit Ashes on this intact Hornsent statue, and another 1 on this defiled statue. Assuming I was too weak to take on Divine Lion at only Ash Blessing 2, I went back to Fort Reprimand to have the Messmer boys take down Knight Eddard Stark for the 3rd blessing level. I then upgraded Yosh to +9 and decided to challenge the Divine Beast with the help of Redmane Freya. Now, while Yosh and Freya are having no issues in this fight, I'm quickly realizing that I am going to be a major liability in these fights. I get one shot by practically every attack, even when it's just collateral. I mean, right here, bro's not even trying to hit me. His Divine Beast ass recoil kills me just from turning around. It also doesn't help that in second phase, nearly every move is some random AoE splash, which makes healing and buffing quite challenging. Overall success in this fight largely depends on how many times this lion decides to dance as ice. In its frost form, it can rack up 3,000 to 4,000 damage on both Freya and your chosen Spirit Ash. Here's a comparison between its Lightning Breath, doing 570 damage to Freya, while its Ice Breath is hitting for over 2,500, nearly 5 times as much. Either Freya doesn't like the cold, or this ice form is just crazy. Another interesting thing to mention is that Freya does a ton of stagger damage.
Oh shit.
If you've ever done a run like this before, you'd probably have noticed that spirit summons just don't stagger bosses, like, almost ever. It's probably a game balance thing, but it just doesn't happen. Freya, though, in these fights consistently staggers bosses. She's just a very good NPC summon. With line alternating between wind and lightning, Freya and crew had no problem finishing the fight, which would allow us to increase our blessing level by 1. And don't forget to grab an additional rear dash on this statue past the elevator. I wanted to visit Castle Ensis next for one reason: Leda. To my knowledge, this is the only boss fight in the game where you can summon Leda to help as your ally, and I was afraid that moving too far into Shadow Altus would remove her summon sign. So I summoned the Needle Knight and equipped Yosh to see how we would fare against Messmer's finest.
Leda's tanky, bro. What in the world? She's tankier than Freya was, for sure.
Leda is really tanky, and she's got a lot of cool moves. And she can semi-consistently stagger Rellana. And then Yosh is doing Yosh things. But ultimately, once Leda dies, the fight becomes very difficult for Yosh, especially at only blessing level 4. So, without a clear alternative, I decided to risk the Leda summon sign vanishing, and made my way to Morth Ruins. To the north is a revered Ashe and the passageway into Bonnie Village. Here you can find another Ashe in the Bonnie Ravine, and make sure to grab the O Mother gesture, which we'll need for later. What I need most right now is blessing levels, so I made my way to the Bonnie Jail to fight Curseblade Labyrinth. Apparently this Labyrinth guy was imprisoned here with Mira, and they became lovers. When Mira died, Labyrinth's grief granted him his darkness power, and he now resides here protecting the literal ashes of his dead wife. So Yosh, he's gonna get those from him in a second here.
Good job, Yosh. Well done, buddy. I knew you could do it. Oh yeah, Sick. That's Mira. Mira's pretty good, I think.
And we're going to make a significant detour into Sharo's hidden grave to grab the Gravebird ashes. I then returned to Castle Ensis, and fortunately Leda's summon sign was still there.
Leda plus bird. Take one.
Well, there's only going to be one attempt because the Gravebird is not great. It gets staggered constantly, it's not very tanky, and its Ghost Flame Breath move has potential to be good, but it doesn't use it consistently enough to proc Frostbite, making it kind of worthless in this run. It's okay, it's probably pretty good if you're running a Frostbite setup or something, but I'm not doing that, so Rellana takes both me and the bird out in her first double kill.
Oh, double kill. Oh shit.
Next we tried Mira, and her APM is off the charts. She's never not kicking or twirling or throwing stuff or whatever, but it's very much a death by 1,000 cut situation. Individually her attacks don't deal much damage, while full combos can melt health bars. Issue is, she's interrupted so often that rarely ever happens. In this fight, Leda had one of the best stagger timings I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, that's huge. Leda, you god.
Preventing Rellana's stage 2 fire dance opening. But even with such luck, once Leda dies, Mira ends up stunlocked in a corner, much like Yosh did, and Rellana finishes the fight with her second double kill.
That's not even that close. Alright, Rellana, I didn't want to have to do this, but we're busting out the Messmers.
The more I use Messmer's men, the more impressed I am. It's no wonder this guy won the war. There's literally nothing to complain about in this summon. They're tanky, have shields for damage mitigation, they self-buff, have high DPS, and their AI is incredibly competent. I mean, what can you say? They're the perfect soldier. During the fight, they were even able to rack up a string of 30,000 damage. That's insane. I know Leda is helping, but I've never seen anything close to that before. Without much issue, Leda and the soldiers were able to clean up the fight, vanquishing Rellana and granting us our 6th blessing level. After that, I headed towards the Shadowkeep's church district without realizing that doing so would break Mikla's Great Rune. I was a little worried this would bungle up some of the quest lines, so I went back to speak with Freya, Ansbach, Leda, and Hornsent, then to Shadowkeep's main gate to make sure both Freya and Hornsent summon signs were still there. They were, so it seems like everything's okay. Then I drained the water from the church district and took the shortcut up to the specimen storehouse back section. I'm currently blessing level 6 and just gut feeling, I didn't think this would cut it for Messmer or even Hippo, so I began heading towards the raw base, along the way picking up any Shadow Tree fragments. In a cave underneath this tree is Heal from Afar, a spell I didn't even know existed until this playthrough, and this shit should be illegal. For my money, it is the best healing spell in the game by miles, and we'll come to see why later. If we keep making our way southwest, there's another revered Spirit Ashe past Templetown ruins, and above those same ruins, kind of hidden in this sneaky passageway, is a small temple building where Divine Bird Warrior Ornis rests.
Hell yeah.
Our penultimate stop was Rivermouth Cave, where Mira quite easily takes down Chief Bloodfiend.
She's pretty good. She has pretty good DPS. She's not even Golden Vowed, she's not Commander Standard, he's not Stifled, and she's still doing this much damage. Like... okay. Alright, acquired. Bloodfiend Hexer's Ashes. Acquired. And finally, to Telu's Ruined Forge, where, at the end of this dungeon, we are going to receive the eponymous deity of smithing, Telu. Little spoiler, in a limited testing I did, this guy fucks. Now we get to challenge one of the worst bosses in the game. I have both Freya and Hornsent summon signs available to me, and I want to be very clear here. I'm going to summon Hornsent for exclusively one reason, and one reason only. I don't know if he shows up at Messmer if I don't summon him here. In any other scenario, in any other boss fight, I prefer Freya 10 out of 10 times. We'll see why shortly. I walked in with Hornsent and my Bloodfiend Hexer at +9 to start us off. In the few fights where I used Bloodfiend, I remember thinking, hey, this guy's pretty good at the start, and then towards the end of the fight thinking, hey, this guy's pretty bad. But this makes sense. Hexer is a bleed-based summon, which are strong early, and weaker later as bosses begin to build up resistances to their status effects. Usually Hexer and Horner would get Hippo to about half health, and then Hornsent would die, leaving Bloodfiend out to dry, and it was GG. Next up was Ornus, and most people probably know this by now, but Ornus is second, maybe third, in terms of combat strength in this DLC. He's very tanky, he has combos that can deal more than 3,000 damage, and uniquely, I think he has immunity frames when he's flying around, and if he doesn't, then bosses just never hit him while he's doing it, which is basically the same thing. He's S tier in the DLC, for sure. But forget Ornus for a second, why would I choose Freya over Hornsent 10 out of 10 times? Well, completely moving past his reprehensible crimes and blatant hypocrisy, Hornsent, at his core, is a little griefer. No, Hornsent, what are you doing? The enemy's over there. He's that way. You rat. Most of the NPCs in this DLC can be a bit scatterbrained at times, but Hornsent takes that tendency and turns it into an Olympic sport. This guy's trolling me. He's griefing me. Look, all I'm saying is, Freya would never, okay? While Hornsent begins his campaign-long grief against me, Ornus is locked in, and thank God for that. Alright, Ornus has got it. Hornsent, you can grief all you want. Ornus wins these. A few more attacks, and the Hippo falls. Holy, alright. I forgot to level up my blessing after this fight, but just know, this lets us be at level 7 before our next boss. I will say one positive quality of Hornsent is his ability to inflict bleed upon his opponents. Mogh's rune could be interesting. For those unfamiliar, Mogh's Great Rune is a companion-based rune that is garbage for 99% of players. The 1% being people like me, and Mimic tier bleed build abusers. Okay, so what does it actually do? Well, when bleed is procced nearby, your summoned spirit gets a tiny heal and a significant damage buff. We're talking like 30%. You can see when it's active by this red aura, and from my testing, the bleed must happen to an enemy. I can't just cheese the buff by using something like Seppuku. It holds a pretty niche spot, but thanks to Heal from Afar keeping me from danger, I don't really need the extra stats from Gondrik's rune, or the HP from Morgoth's. I never really considered using it in the base game because, 1, it's hard to get. You need to beat Mogh and the Fell Twins. But we have to beat Mogh anyway to get into the DLC, and the Fell Twins are not even remotely a match for my favorite spirit summon, the Mausoleum Soldiers. Once defeated, the Great Rune can be found on the top of the East Altus Divine Tower. What is this? Why are they like divided? Oh. I didn't know they shared, That's cool. Wait, that's sick, because they're brothers. Aw. Another reason Mogh's Great Rune is often forgotten is that there just aren't that many summons that can proc bleed, and the ones that can are consistently outclassed by better summons. But in the DLC, 2 of the best Spirit Ashes are bleed-based, and 2 very prominent NPC summons can also proc bleed. We'll see if we can't make use of this moving forward. After Hippo, I TP'd to the Specimen Storehouse backrooms and took the shortcut up to the loft area. The only reason for being up here is to grab a spirit summon located in a completely scandalous area. This is Fire Knight Hilda, and if you're wondering why her ashes are found here, apparently it's because her spirit is being used as a protective charm for the storehouse. Kind of like a dream catcher, I guess. I did it! So if you've played the DLC, you'll know that the Specimen Storehouse is an incredibly dense area, with pathways giving access to nearly every part of the map. Right now though, before Messmer, we're going to focus on a couple things. There are 2 revered spirit ashes in the storehouse on the backs of 2 separate divine beasts, and and we also need the secret right scroll for Ansbach's questline. I think it's important for Freya's quest to have spoken to her before giving Ansbach the scroll, but I'm not sure that it matters for Ansbach's quest. Either way, if you're having trouble getting to the 4th floor of the storehouse like I was, there's a pretty consistent jump you can make from this ledge. Now I'd recommend not jumping straight on because of geometry or something. The place you land takes you to a balcony section that leads right to the secret scroll. If you take that back to Ansbach on the 1st floor and exhaust his dialogue, he'll give you a letter to Freya, who is located on the 7th floor. They're done until Messmer is defeated. Which brings us to...
Mongrel intruder. That tarnished, it seemeth.
My first attempt at Messmer was just spent trying to find Hornsent summon sign. He did a real good job hiding it. Classic Hornsent. If you are naive enough to believe that Hornsent abandoned his griefing ways after the Golden Hippo fight, then go ahead, do me a favor, and send me your bank account information. Most fights would look something like Hornsent doing nothing but getting grabbed by Messmer, dying without proccing a single bleed. The only war Hornsent is waging is on my damn sanity. Here's a brief montage of Hornsent inting my DLC experience. Where's Hornsent? Where's that guy doing? Buddy! What am I paying you for, dog? You missed your full combo, bud. Where's Hornsent? Okay, he's just chilling. Yeah, just watch. Just watch the real professional work, alright? Look at this guy. What are you looking at, bud? Come on, enter, go in. Do your job, dog. What the hell? You dodged my heel. You literally rolled my heel. Okay. Don't come this way. This guy. He was griefing me in the hippo fight, and he's griefing me now. Love it. Never change, Hornsent. Yeah, how this guy thought he had any chance of taking on Messmer is a belief deserving of much rebuke. Lucky for Hornsent, Tehlu decided to show up, and Tehlu, he's hard to describe. Tehlu is an absolute force of nature in this DLC and quickly becomes so strong that I'm not sure which one the boss is. Messmer might have insane mobility, infinite dashes, and mega poise damage, but Tehlu has rock and fist, and he's only taking 83 damage from a move that would normally one-shot me. This deity of smithing is a complete powerhouse, and honestly, Messmer never stood a chance. I think Romania is like an easier fight than Messmer is, so we're going Spirit Ashe. Messmer's defeat triggers the next part of Hornsent's quest, which means we can go back to Needle Knight Leda, and she will tell you that Ansbach needs to be eliminated.
I'm afraid Sir Ansbach will have to be next.
Give her the old, cool story bro, and TP back to the specimen storeroom, where we're going to immediately side with her opponent, Ansbach. Now, I'm not sure I can condone the choice of a bow in a close combat melee fight against a knight, but hey, I'm not the commander of the Pure Blood Knights or whatever, and also I'm not gonna lie to you, he's kind of nasty with it. He just jumped right over it. Okay, he's a legend. He don't even need my help. Leda probably also isn't thrilled that her opponent is being pocket mercy healed. Something to note is that if you side with Leda or skip this fight entirely, Ansbach will not be helping you with either of the last two fights, so just keep that in mind. Once the fight is done, you get Ansbach's bow and Leda's rune, but most importantly, we can continue Ansbach's quest and we'll see him later in Enir-Elim. Since we are on the topic of NPC questlines, let's knock out a few more. Fire Knight Queeline is a summon you can receive after giving him an Iris of Grace in the prayer room of the Shadowkeep's Church District. There are two irises? Well, there are two of them in the game. One is located beneath the storeroom in the Shaman Triage area, and the other is located beneath a Marika statue right before the Shadow Tree Avatar bonfire. Oh, sick. Okay, I need that. That's great. But in order to even be able to give one to Queeline, we need to go back to Ballarat where he will invade us. Here I used Fire Knight Hilda, because it just kind of felt poetic, but I will say that Hilda is a worse version of Queeline, and Queeline is an embarrassment to all of mankind. I also want to mention that you cannot normally summon here, so I don't know if it's possible to get Queeline without using some extracurricular means. After getting smoked in a 1v1, Queeline invades us again at the Church of the Crusade, another location you cannot summon. But this one has a ledge nearby. My first few goes, it seemed like it was going to be impossible to get this guy to fall off. He's so close. Is that a bowl cut? Guy's rocking a Karen bowl cut? Bro, is he even worth saving? But then this happened. Try something like this, maybe? Yee! Oh. Okay. That second invasion gives us the key to the prayer room, where we can give Quilon the Iris and obtain his summon. Alright, cool. One other NPC we're very interested in is Tierlists. We've already started his questline earlier, and breaking Mikla's Great Rune causes him to move south past Stone Coffin Fissure. On the way there, you can grab another Revered Spirit Ash and some Glovewort upgrade materials in the Cerulean Coast. Stone Coffin is an unbelievably annoying area to navigate in a run like this, and I only managed through the help of Bubble Tier and sheer luck. I'm very interested in seeing how no-hit runners are getting through this area. That's crazy. For the Putrescent fight, I opted to use Andreas, the traitorous Black Knight commander of Messmer's army, who can be found in the Fallgrift Catacombs, along with a great Glovewort. Andreas is gonna smite this guy down with his Holy Frog Tongue. I'm not worried in the slightest. Tierlists' summon sign can also be found inside the boss arena right as you jump down, but Putrescent Knight does seem to be immune to poison, and Tierlists is a poison-based NPC summon, so this does seem an odd pairing, but that's none of my business. Just know, if you're looking for someone to help you in the Putrescent fight, Tierlists is not going to be doing that. Andreas is one of those summons that I really want to like. Some might say he's a jack of all trades, but it would be more honest to characterize him as a slack of all trades. He's not that tanky despite his great shield and heavy armor. He's constantly getting staggered, his damage is okay, and his AI lacks initiative. He does do holy damage, but even that's a double-edged sword. Honestly, the best thing about this guy is that divine frog tongue, if you know what I'm saying. A quick thing to note though, this run was done before patch 1.13, aka the patch where FromSoft buffed nearly every spirit summon, so the summons you see doing well in this run are even better now, and the ones that underperformed like Andreas are probably pretty viable. Anyways, Andreas was just barely enough to take down Putrescent, and following that we can enter the Garden of Deep Purple to speak with Saint Trina. Drink her nectar a few times, and Tierlists will invade you on the basis of heresy, or jealousy, maybe. Spirit Ashes cannot be poisoned, so virtually any summon would work here, but full disclosure, just like the Quilon invasion you cannot normally summon here, the mod I'm using is allowing me to do this so that I can meet up with Tierlists later. After getting literally tongued to death, Tierlists can be given Saint Trina's final words, which will instruct him to help you in Enir-Elim later on. We're going for every DLC Remembrance boss here, so let's take a trip back to the Shadowkeep to check in on Commander Gaius. Honestly, most attempts started and ended with me getting run over by his pig. Like, what is that charge, dude? That hitbox is crazy. Mira at +9 and Blessing level 8 had pretty much the same experience. Here she gets hit by a 3300 damage charge, and that's with 66% DR. Not to mention, pretty much any spirit summon smaller than Telu or Ornis just get thrown around. I don't love how this run is becoming a Telu montage, but that's just a testament to how punishing these bosses can be, and just how strong our Forge God is. Oh, following him? Hell yeah. Toward the end of the fight, I did my best to stay away from both of them, completely foregoing buffing, as this fight quickly becomes a complete slugfest. Oh, there we go. Rock him. Shoot your fists at him. Yeah, hell yeah. Just two big beefers beefing it out, dude. Alright, well, another W for Telu. Yet another W. This guy just wants to go smith some weapons, man. Alright, well. He likes to do this. He likes to extend the end of the fights. It's like a power thing. You wouldn't understand. After the fight, I grabbed the 5 Shadow Tree fragments behind his arena, using 2 of them to level up our Shadow Tree blessing to 3. At this point, we've gathered up most of the S-tier spirit summons in the DLC, but there is one we have not yet acquired. For this one, we're going to head into the Cathedral of Manus Matir and speak with Count Emir. He'll give us a map to the middle of absolutely fucking nowhere and tell us to blow his finger. Afterwards, you'll get a medallion and another map from Manus. This is where we're going to need to use the O Mother gesture by this Merica statue to gain access to the hinterlands and the ruins of Deo. Bro, that is the creepiest school field trip I've ever seen. 2 chaperones for 50 kids? That is irresponsible. Manus pulls the same prank on us again, this time in yet another unique, but unfortunately empty area. Make sure to be speaking with Yolan when you can. I don't know if that's important, but it's not worth ruining the quest over. Then press the button on the chair to get a super cool reveal. I really like the aesthetic of this place. Sword Hand of Knight Anna will invade you, and I've had somewhat consistent success getting her to fall off a ledge by this broken finger pillar area. What? Oh, what? What? There's like a little tiny ledge there? Wait, that's crazy. After that, we can now challenge a really cool boss in terms of lore, but a really shit boss in terms of being a good boss. My red flag is thinking I can design better bosses than FromSoft can, but in this case, I think that's true. I'm currently at Revered Blessing level 8, and the first summon I tried here was Divine Warrior Ornis. Ornis does really well into these kind of massive entity bosses because practically all of his feather combos land every time. I was pretty nervous going into this fight. Metyr is not a super easy boss and does a lot of damage, but in reality it wasn't really that close. It's always interesting to see which bosses my intuition is right about and wrong about in these runs. The only other Ashes I found consistent success with were Tehlu, no surprise there. This guy clowns on every conceivable being in this entire universe. And the Messmer soldiers do pretty well at plus 10, but they're kind of iffy. I'd say they win about 60% of the time, depending on whether or not they get caught in this attack. Mother of Fingers Metyr is a fight largely made possible in this run because of Heal from Afar, which I suppose now's a good time as any to explain why this incant is so dang good. One, it's ranged, and it goes pretty far, like really far. We're talking rock sling far. This means that you can typically stand on one side of the boss arena and heal someone's practically on the opposite side of the arena. I no longer have to worry about getting one shot by most bosses because I'm nowhere near them. 2, you can change direction while casting it, which effectively reduces cast time and lets you reposition the heal if you need to react to the boss, or more likely, your own summons. 3, it has way lower stat requirements by about 30 levels. This isn't a huge deal because most people are walking in the DLC at high levels anyway, but it's still worth considering. 4, you get all those benefits, which alone would make this an S tier incant, but it's also just a better heal. You heal more HP per FP spent. Like, what? That's insane. Oh, and did I mention it's ranged? Once Metyr is defeated, we can TP back to the cathedral where we will get invaded by Swordhand of Night Yolan. And much like the Tierlists invasion, you cannot normally summon here, so I don't think there's a way to obtain the Yolan and Ana summon in a playthrough like this normally, which kind of sucks. Once Queeline deals with Swordhand of Night Yolan, Count Ymir tags in. Now, Ymir is quite weak as a caster, but sorcery is not where his power resides. His power resides in pregnancy. The lower Ymir's HP bar gets, the more of these finger creepers he seems to birth. Now, normally, these would distract other Spirit Ashes, but Queeline is focused, and he's got a bolt cut that says, I know who the manager is. Once Ymir is defeated, Yolan can be found dying by this pillar, and the same thing with Queeline, give her an Iris of Grace, and you'll be rewarded with the Yolan summon. If you'd like to get the duo summon, we'll need to head to Shaman Village, and if you haven't already, you should just take a second to appreciate the beautiful atmosphere of this village and scene. Then grab this trash incant, along with a actually pretty decent talisman up by this tree. Past the village to the north is a series of falls that will lead to a secret area of Rabath's Tower, where Puppet of Ana is located. Interacting with her will grant you both Sword Hands of Night. We've got a few POIs left, so if you TP back to the Golden Hippo site of Grace and run through the shortcut to the right, you'll come across a ladder. This ladder will lead to a stone sarcophagus that will take you down into the ruins of Unte. Ruins of... is it Unti or Unte? What is it? Here a revered Spirit Ash Blessing is located, and further down the path lies the Village of Flies, where a second Ash Blessing is, along with the Manfly Ashes. The path opposite the village takes you to the Darklight Catacombs.
Oh, they're Fremen. Quick, call the Sardaukar.
And I recommend not turning the lights on for a much more immersive experience.
That is the most ominous thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Near the end of the dungeon is a chest containing the Big Mouth Imp Ashes, and at the very end of the dungeon is the Elder Inquisitor Jory fight. First up was Yosh, and I thought Yosh would do well here because he has his own teleport that can theoretically follow Jory's TP.
Oh, wait, he's a legend. Wait. He owns Jory because he can follow the TP.
But once the spirits start arriving, Yosh quickly becomes overwhelmed.
Okay, you deal with him and I'll run. I'll run away. Alright, I'll keep running. I'm doing my job. Yosh, don't worry about him. Oh, alright, well. He does do pretty well, but once he starts summoning the spirits, this is pretty tough, huh?
I then decided to try the newly acquired girl bosses, Yolan and Ana. And almost immediately I was impressed, especially with Ana. She goes after it, dude. And they're one of the few Spirit Ashes in the entire game that can make use of Mogh's Great Rune. Once it procs, Mogh's rune turns these two girl bosses into girl board members, and they can output some of the highest DPS that I've seen. It was not uncommon for them to be dealing 4 to 5k damage when left alone for an enemy for a few seconds. Pro tip, I highly recommend using Divine Fortification here, as most of the damage Jory does seems to be holy. Either way, the girls make quick work of Jory and his Inquisitors, letting me upgrade my Scatter Tree Blessing and granting me access to the Abyssal Woods.
They really nailed the ambiance of this place here, huh? This is creepy as hell. I tell you what.
The Abyssal Woods terminates with Midra's Manse, which I could not figure out how to get into.
Am I just like a mega stupid idiot?
You gotta hit the painting. Like, come on. Okay. Not much for us to do here. Scavenge for some items if you want to, and near the end of the manse, perched on a chandelier, is another revered Spirit Ash. Very nice. Then get ready for a showdown. I'm pretty sure Midra holds the superlative of highest health in the DLC for bosses, clocking in at nearly 50,000. Even his decrepit pre-boss form is rocking somewhere north of 5k. Once he's down, you'll get a pretty gnarly cutscene, and the rest of this fight felt like a fever dream. Thank God Yolan and Anna were doing the fighting, because I was completely enthralled by the atmosphere, the boss, the visuals, the soundtrack. Wait, hang on. Just listen to this shit.
Oh my god, that fucking... What was that? Like that bass riff or whatever that was? That was sick.
You know, I hadn't fought this guy before, but everybody was telling me that FromSoft really cooked with this boss, and good God, they were right. Maybe it's just recency bias, but there's like 400 Souls bosses at this point. Midra's gotta be top 5, no? Anyways, I look down, and he's at half HP. I might be enjoying every aspect of this boss, but Yolan and Anna appear to be all business. I'm assuming a big part of the challenge of Midra is his madness buildup, but yeah, Spirit Summons are immune to status effects, so any bosses that rely on them kind of get clowned on. The sisters finished the fight with minimal intervention on my part, and afterwards, I leveled up my Shadow Tree Blessing to 5,
might as well do this to 5,
and headed towards the ancient ruins of Ra. Here, we're going to pick up another revered Spirit Ash on this statue by 2 horned warriors. There are also 2 more Spirit Ashes that we can obtain here pretty easily. One is the Spider Scorpion Ashes, which are specifically located not in the Scorpion Catacombs, and the second is the traitorous Knight Captain Hugh, whose ashes are placed here for being, well, a traitor. Once we upgrade those 2 Spirit Ashes, we are griefed the third and final time by our good old pal Hornsent.
Oh shit. Hornsent, wait. Why me? What did I do? I helped him kill Messmer, no? I didn't snitch on Leda. Bro, just go stare at some walls. Yeah, get out of here. In true Hornsent fashion, he gives up the fight at the first sign of a minor inconvenience, and we can prepare to fight Romina. For this, I summon the help of Dryleaf Dane. Does anybody else get the feeling that Dryleaf Dane was like shoehorned in? It feels like they wanted to add martial arts to the game, and like, well, we need an NPC, and they just like threw this guy in there. He just doesn't fit. Like, I don't know. He just feels so out of place. I also equipped the newly upgraded Hugh Ashes before entering the fight. He's got some cool crucible powers, and he looks to be invulnerable like Ornus is during flight, but overall he's pretty weak. I kind of inted Hugh in this fight, but when you spend as much time with Spirit Ashes as I have, you can just kind of tell who's got the sauce, and Hugh don't. Hugh don't have it. It is well known that giant centipedes are weak to fire, and most women are afraid of Quilon, so there's a pretty obvious option for who's next. Never in my life have I seen somebody so over-promoted. Fire Knights are supposedly the elites of Messmer's military, and the only possible conceivable way this guy made it to the top with that haircut is by brown-nosing his way up there. Quaylen, put your fire on your sword. What's the point of summoning you if you're not going to be a Fire Knight, dude?
I don't know why I've developed such an irrational hatred for this guy, but he just really pisses me off. Romina killing me here was the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I then tried Big Mouth Imp, who's probably in my S ranking for a support summon. With just Golden Vow, he's blasting for north of 800 damage, and with Soul Stifler it rocks up to nearly 1100. Not to mention conceptually, this is the perfect summon. It's a mid-range cannon with legs. Like, what more do you want? Big Mouth performed the best so far, but once our tank Dane dies, neither me nor Mr. Mouth can withstand the barrage of attacks from Romina. I had no other choice but to bring out the big guns. If you're going to use Dane, he is going to be rotted at some point, and he will subsequently die. So the goal of this fight is to reduce the total length of time you're fighting as to reduce the rot damage. And the only way to do that is by dealing tons of damage. And yeah, the girls have no problem doing that. Also, I can't prove this, but they feel a lot tankier than they should be. I think they're even tankier than the Messmer soldiers. My gut feeling is their size and moveset has something to do with it. Right here, Anna is recovering for some attack, but look at Romina's slash. Who's getting hit by this? Taylu is. Ornis for sure. Even Messmer soldiers probably get hit by this. This might be a crazy reference, but they remind me of 007 GoldenEye's Odd Job, where they just kind of exist beneath everybody's crosshair, so to speak. And I think that contributes to them feeling artificially very tanky. In any case, even after Dane dies, Yelan and Anna have no problem exterminating this bulbous bug boss.
Hell yeah, dude. Well done, ladies.
And once she falls, I leveled up my Shadow Tree Blessing to 6 and TB'd to the altar of Dragon Communion to see if we can't hatch a plan to deal with
Bayle the Dread!
But first we need to make a pit stop to speak with Florisax to start a questline that just doesn't sit right with me.
Such a gentle voice for an ancient dragon.
This is a wild quest. I don't like it. I got a sleep concoction. I got essentially roofies from Tolier. I give it to her while she's awake. She knows that I'm doing it, right? Hopefully. She falls asleep. Her lord forsakes her for something she didn't do, and then she wakes up and blames herself. What the fuck? That shit's crazy. Alright, let's see if any of these guys can beat this flying, fire-breathing dragon. The first obstacle we'll face is Jagged Peak Drake number 1. I don't think this is mandatory for Egon's quest, but don't quote me on that. Big Mouth Imp works well here, dealing somewhere between 700 and 1300 damage per shot, so overall this fight is pretty easy. I did notice my Summons AI kind of misbehaves a bit, not attacking or really moving that much for 5 seconds at a time. This seems to be a problem in large open areas without clear boundaries for what is considered the boss arena. It was only a minor issue here, but in the next Drake fight, it becomes a massive problem. A few more blasts from Big Mouth are enough to take down this dragon, and then we're able to move up the mountain to the duo Drake fight. Without discussion, this fight is the worst fight in the run, and it's not remotely close. There are 3 major problems that make this fight absolutely miserable. The first is the one I mentioned a second ago with Big Mouth and his AI not working normally in large areas, a problem that is evidently clear at all points during this fight. At the very start, when Ornis is summoned, he seems to have no idea what to do, standing in place without attacking for 10 seconds or more. Even after getting rocked in the face by a 10-ton dragon skull, Ornis is still unsure as to who his enemy is.
Okay, he's lost. Bro's lost. Oh, dragon.
The second issue is summon damage. Every Spirit Ashe I tested seems to be doing roughly a third of the damage they would normally deal. Ornis's Flying Feather combo can rack up to above 4,000 damage, as can be seen on Matir, but on this Drake it's doing just over 1k. His sword attacks share this pattern, normally doing around 300 per swing, but here only doing 100. Essentially this means that the fight is going to take much longer, which is a resource problem. I can't heal and buff forever. The final issue is that the barrier for where a summon is summonable is not clear. Right here I was trying to avoid the Dragon's Fire and didn't realize I was out of bounds. So nearly 20 minutes into this attempt, Ornis just disappears without me being able to resummon him.
Where's Ornis? He didn't die. Did he despawn? Is that like a despawn area over there? No way, dude.
To be fair, I get you're not supposed to do the fight this way, but still, what a massive headache. There's a lot I can say about this fight, but the last thing I'll mention is that Cursed Blood Pots can actually be kind of useful here. I said they were near useless in my last playthrough, which is a statement I still agree with, but they did seem to have an effect in determining where Ornis directed his attention in this fight specifically. You know, it's a good thing Ornis is as good as he is, because this would have been impossible with anyone else.
Please, Ornis, hit it twice. No, you jumped out of my heal. That's the last heal I have. I mean, it's all up to Ornis. Oh, thank God. Oh my Christ. Alright, buddy. We're going to Outback, okay?
But for Egon, I guess it's worth it.
Okay, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Grant me this one wish. Take this finger, my finger.
Pull my finger, my finger. Yes, sir.
After that miserable Jagged Drake fight, I initially thought about summoning 2 of my best warriors to fight Senesax, but instead decided to summon 2 of my middle fingers, say fuck that, and ran straight to Bayle.
I'm good. I'm good on that one. Sick arena, honestly. Better than Placidus Axes, for sure.
As much as Egon's VA slayed this role, it's gotta be said, in-universe, he's all passion, no brain. I'm noticing a trend in this DLC where the more an NPC summon talks about hating a certain boss, the more trash they are when it comes to facing said boss. Here you can see Egon animation cancels his own bow shot to do a melee attack that has approximately 0% chance at hitting Bayle. I mean, I don't know, at least he's creative with it. This guy is on the fly inventing new ways of grieving people.
Where are you going? You have a bow. Why are you running in? Just shoot him.
Ultimately though, once Tehlu enters the fray, Bayle's fate is sealed. Tehlu's backpack has a seemingly limitless capacity, and there is nothing Egon or I could do to stop his inevitable victory.
I cannot emphasize enough how much Tehlu doesn't give a fuck. Did Tehlu take any damage from that? He didn't. This guy is crazy. This spirit summon is so unbelievable.
I'm kind of downplaying this fight because of how strong Tehlu is, but honestly this is one of the coolest fights in the game.
Bye, Bayle.
You can then return to Ancient Dragon Floorsax to pick up her Spirit Ash, which I won't really be using, as it is a very disappointing summon.
This lady needs therapy. She's a legendary summon, oh my god.
After Bayle, I would have leveled up my Ashe blessing to 10, but the remainder of Revered Ashe is dropped by enemies, which means I would have to break the rules of my own run to get them, and also I don't even think it's that worth it. 2% more damage reduction is irrelevant, and sure, a 7.5% damage buff is nice, but it's not going to be winning us any fights. So instead we head to our second to last Remembrance boss, found at the Tree Worshipper's Sanctum Site of Grace. There are a few obvious options here as far as spirits are concerned. Anything with fire sounds good, so first up is Queeline. Now his Ashe description says he attacks immediately, but that's not true because he's always throwing up these gang signs and I don't know what that's all about. So far Queeline has been a huge disappointment, and he sure as hell isn't doing anything to help his reputation here.
Hey, get a better haircut. Maybe that'll help.
I've heard Big Mouth Imp can bop the tree, which I'm sure is true, but in my experience he just kind of gets bullied a bit. Maybe it's because he's not at plus 10 yet, but yeah, I didn't have much luck with him. I found the most success using the Messmer soldiers with their incredibly aggressive attack patterns and heavy DPS, and of course, everyone's favorite Golemsmith. I don't know, man. Dread it, run from it. Tehlu arrives, all the same.
It took you a while, buddy, but that's the thing, you know, forging is a patience craft. You can't rush folding steel and banging it with a hammer, okay? I understand. With everything else taken care of, we can finally burn the Shadow Tree sealing Enir-Elim. There are 4 Revered Ashe here, 2 are found past these manflies, another is in a room right next to the roof with gravebirds, and the final one is unfortunately dropped by this enemy. There are also 2 Spirit Ashes found here. The first is the Horned Warrior, which is quite good. I was able to use him to take down a few of those Ghost Flame Dragons for some Shadow Tree levels. Thank you. Alright, good job, Horny.
And the second are the Inquisitors, which are quite bad. After making our way to the Cleansing Chamber bonfire, we get to experience a fight that is really the culmination of all of our efforts and decisions thus far. This is a really cool fight.
There we go, Tolier and Ansbach. Oh shit, bro came to play, dog. He put away his bow, he said, fuck that bow. He got a Reaper, and he's got some kind of seal. Alright, now we see Ansbach's true power. And Tolier's, yeah, he's here as well. I first tried the Inquisitors as their support summon, so I was hoping they could make use of their support capabilities, but they are god-awful. They're like, this summon is like Wandering Noble's bad. As far as Spirit Ashes go, most things will work here. Wow! Oh! Uh-oh. Ansbach is a monster in this fight. He can practically solo both Dane and Leda. So basically any Spirit Ashe that takes some of the aggro away from him is going to result in a victory. When the fight concludes, you can grab the loot from everybody, pay your respects, and then head to the Divine Gatefront for the final fight of the DLC. I knew this battle was going to be a doozy, so I assembled 2 teams that I thought would perform the best. One was the brothers and sisters equipped with Mogh's Great Rune and Commander Standard, with this team being focused primarily on dealing as much damage as possible. The second team was Tehlu's Little Helpers equipped with Morgoth's Rune, Golden Vow, focused on survivability and healing. Immediately upon entering, I would run forward so that Radahn's normal opening move wouldn't hit my summons.
Then if I got lucky, I could summon Yolan and Anna without getting hit, but usually I would just tank it with Bubble Tear. After that, rebuff and start healing. Even at Shadow Tree Blessing 10, I can still easily get one-shot by some of his moves, so there's no slouching for me in this fight. Every single one of these summons is extremely capable. Here you can see each of them dodging the boulders Radahn is throwing at us, and they certainly don't lack for damage. But it doesn't really matter how talented each individual is when Radahn is stringing together combos of damage totaling more than 7,000. That's reduced by 20%, by the way. It also doesn't stop him from tossing them around like a veteran WWE wrestler. Oh, he hit 3 of them, that's really bad. Both Ansbach and Tierlists come equipped with a single charge of their own Estus flasks, which enabled us to make it out of first phase pretty consistently. Second phase, however, is an entirely different animal. Radahn's still doing a ton of damage, but now every attack is accompanied by a massive AoE splash. Ansbach and Tierlists are on the brink of death, and perhaps most frustratingly is Mikla's creepy charm move. Stop kissing my women. Oh, that sounded so wrong. Oh, okay, well, this one's doomed. I didn't mean to imply ownership, okay? My bad. In second phase, Mikla is constantly spinning a wheel labeled 1 through 5, and if he spins the same number twice, the fight is over. And given the length of these fights, he will spin it twice. Did he get the one that was already kissed? He did. Okay, well, it's over. You can partly solve this issue by using Telu, who cannot be grabbed, but that just leaves your NPC pals out to dry, and once they die, this team really lacks for damage. Coincidentally, despite having opposite tactics, the best runs I had with each team were nearly identical, leaving Radahn with roughly 1/3 of his health bar. A health bar that you've probably noticed by now is a lot larger than it should be. Yeah, that's 25k. 50... Oh, Jesus Christ, wait. This guy's probably got like 75k HP. Uh-oh. I've played FromSoft games before. I know that NPCs summoned outside boss rooms increase boss HP bars, okay? I just didn't know by how much. It's never really been an issue before. I figured the commander of the Pure Blood Knights and the Simp of St. Trina were going to, at worst, increase Radahn's HP pool by 20, maybe 30k. Hopefully they would deal about that much damage, and my chosen spirit summon would take care of the rest. Couldn't be more wrong. So how do NPC summons buff boss HP bars? Well, a lad by the name of Illusory Wall looks to have figured it out. Ansbach, in this example, is giving Radahn 60% more health. If I also summon Tierlists, it shoots up to 130%. He also gets a pretty chunky buff to his resistances, 50% to bleed, and 100% to poison. You know, the exact types of damage that I'm doing. This is Radahn's normal HP bar, this is what I thought it would be, worst case scenario, and this is what it actually is. That right there is 10 Radagons worth of health. If Radahn wasn't a monster before, he damn sure is now. Okay, well, it's not unusual to encounter problems in challenge runs, so let's see if we can't solve this problem. One item of interest is the Uplifting Aromatic. This is a craftable item that grants you and any allies around you a Bubble Tear. Radahn is hitting for, on average, 1500 damage per swing. This will block 5 of those times as many as you can carry for a staggering potential 75,000 damage blocked over the course of a fight. Well, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. This aromatic works great in phase 1, especially for Tierlists and Ansbach, but once we enter stage 2, it doesn't matter if they have 1% health or 100%, Mikla is, he's still gonna get you. Alright, well, if we're looking to reduce damage taken, maybe we could reduce damage dealt. What about parrying? Yeah, I haven't considered that. I mean, the other thing I can do, which people might feel is a little bit cheap, is parrying Radahn. That's hard to do too, though. I say that like I can do it. It's really difficult to parry a boss that isn't hitting you. I went back to Gostock, got myself a buckler, and began to practice. Now, I'm not very good at this game, but Radahn is one of the easier bosses to learn how to parry, and it's actually pretty fun. Once I got comfortable solo, I summoned the crew and went to try it for real. Okay, take 1 with parrying. See how this goes. Can't block that. It's like... That's why it's going to be kind of difficult, is because he's not targeting me, right? Yeah, Radahn isn't even focused on me, and parry windows are small, like 1/6 of a second small, and not every move is even parryable. So in the time it takes Radahn to swing once, I have to decide if the move is parryable, then determine who he's targeting, get into position, and still have enough time to actually parry the attack. To say this was inconsistent is kind of like saying the sun's a little warm. The last thing I thought about using was the new companion-based physic tiers added to the DLC, but these are nearly impossible to obtain being dropped by furnace golems, and I'm not even that confident they would change the results of the fight that much. The healing tier restores roughly 1200 HP over the course of 3 minutes, but who cares when Radahn does 5 times that amount in 3 seconds, and the other one, the Glovewort tier, increases summon damage dealt by the same amount a blessing level does, 7.5%. This amounts to 40 more damage per attack from Tehlu, but we're not 40 damage short of beating Radahn, we're 40,000 short. Yeah, I tried. I really wanted to make this work, but it wasn't happening. Alright, well, just summon Tehlu and just win, I guess. I guess we gotta win now, guys. Oh well. Let me buff. You rat, let me buff. I'm always shocked by this spirit summon. There's nothing like this in the base game. It's insane. This guy is absolutely wild. Uh-oh. Run, Tehlu. Tehlu, run! Oh, you don't care? Oh, okay. Oh, you don't give a single shit? Oh, okay. I mean, like, honestly, it's kind of annoying how easy this is without Ansbach and Tierlists. Like, I know if you put them in the room, the fight's too easy, because it would just be this, but easier. But I mean, 60% and then 130% is a little bit insane. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could have made it different for NPC summons, but they didn't, right? I tried my best. Woo, Tehlu! Fucking clears the entire game without even any effort. And now he's just gonna go back to his forge and do whatever he wants to do, because he's the fucking man. That guy should be Elden Lord, honestly. Here is my tier list of Spirit Ashes, and here is the one for NPC summons. And if you liked the video, consider a sub. Thanks, and I'll catch you on the next one.